Welcome back to the channel, good friends. My trusty sidekick over to the side here enjoying a bone with a little bit of peanut butter shoved in the inside. That is her absolute favorite. On the Acura TL, we are in the middle of a multi-step correction. That's what it takes for this because the surface is really bad. I did leave the trunk and the hood for testing and video purposes. And what we're going to do today is work on the hood. And I got a whole loot crate full of lake country pads, different pads from wool pads to foam pads to microfiber pads. So we'll test a couple pads on the hood here and see how they perform. Because I'm going to bring you close. You're going to see scratches, swirls, etching, just overall dullness and oxidation. And we'll see what we can do. Just a little tease, just to show you the success we're having with this softer black clear. We're going from something like that to something like this. So we had the two doors done, we're working on the fender. We'll get back here to the quarter panel, but a huge, huge improvement. And this thing is going to look fantastic when it's done. On the hood here, we have yet to begin, and you'll be able to see that. Look how bad that is. I mean, that is just torture to this clear coat, whatever the hell they were doing, washing it with a Brillo pad. And, I mean, hard water spots, scratches, swirls, deep scratches, deeper scratches, overall dullness and oxidation. And we'll get it. Let's come back here. You gotta see the trunk. The trunk is just crazy. Look at that. A garden rake to remove snow, I guess. And just an absolute mess up here. So we're gonna have fun with this. But up front, we're gonna test some lake country pads on different polishers and see how they work. Let's get started. These are the pads I'm talking about. A lot of these are designed for the Udo polisher, but it really doesn't matter because the Udo does everything. It's an oscillation, force rotation, rotary, so they'll work with any other polisher, believe me. Foam cutting pads, 3-inch finish, waffle. We'll try these big hockey pucks here. We have microfiber cut pads. We have our Smart Pad professional wool pads for the Rotary. We'll give those a shot. We have some of the micro wool cutting pads. I'd love to see what they do. We have a foam polishing pad. We'll use either this one or this polishing pad to clean up after the cutting process, because you know there's going to be a little bit of hazing left. So yeah, let's give these a try. Okay, so right here, I'm going to try the micro wool pad, this hybrid pad here. So this should fit on a 5-inch backing plate, and what we're going to use is the Flex XCE8. This is a forced rotation, has the oscillation. Get that centered, and we'll team this here combination up with some caulk chemi. This is just the H901. The 01 works perfectly fine for me. I'm not in a hurry to jump to the, who knows what they're up to now, H6, H7. Not that much of a difference between the first few anyways. They just come out with different versions to separate, you know, your money from your wallet. This works perfectly fine for me. I'm happy with it. Let me get my microfiber up here. And we'll do a couple passes back and forth and see what improvement we make. How about that? So just like any wool pad, they need to be delinted. These should have been washed or cleaned first. I could see the little fibers flying off, but any wool pad, you're going to have a little bit of that. We're between the 3rd and the 4th speed setting. I have a hold of the tool here and here, not on top, forcing 20 foot-pounds of pressure down on this hood. I'm letting the polisher do the work. Pressure only equals heat. We don't want heat. This clear coat has been through enough. Okay. And just to show you, gonna have a little bit of that. No big deal. Just use a little bit of forced air. Get rid of that. No more than if you were using a wool pad on a rotary. Let's wipe off the residue. See if we've made any type of improvement. I think you can already see from here. Yes, we have, obviously. We're going from that to that. Now this hood is blasted. Chips, crow's feet, you name it. And of course, we have a little bit of hazing. That pad is quite aggressive. So we'll grab one of the finish pads or polish pads, and we'll go over this area with that as well. Let me get the swirl finder. So we're going from that. Look at all the staining, etching. And we finally are starting to see some metallic flake coming through on that paint. Some of the scratches like that, those are deep into the color coat. And then some of the chips and some of the crow's feet. Let's work out this hazing and see what it looks like. So we'll grab the very soft waffle finishing pad or polishing, light polishing, team that up with the fabulous finish. And what do I have here? This is the platinum. I don't even remember where the hell I got so many polishers. I mean, those are just a couple hanging up on the wall back there, and probably have, what, 5 or 6 sitting right here. As you can tell, Flex is my favorite and go-to. But we're going to use this combination to clean things up a bit. Let me know down in the comment section what your favorite polisher is and polishing line. All right, shake up that nice rich formula. Some of that on the pad. And in case you weren't aware, the waffle pads run cooler because the air can circulate up under these dimples here. But you have to keep in mind, less of the surface of the pad is also touching the surface. So there's a little bit of a trade-off. I like having a I mean, this isn't even warm to the touch. And it's not spiking temperatures in a crazy fashion. So I don't mind that there's a little bit less surface area of the pad doing the work. Let's wipe off the residue here. Oh yeah, much, I mean, that's going to look really good when it's done. We're going from that to that. I'm not sure how far I'm going to go with some of these real deep ones. We'll see. I may do a little bit of color sanding. But anyways, that's how the Udos micro wool pad worked, and then finishing it down. Let's hop up here and grab the Rotary wool pad and then finish that down right there. See what it looks like. Wool pad, guys, I know we've covered this, and look at that. So I'm gonna go get the air compressor fired up and de-lint this the best I can so I'm not sneezing the rest of the video. But wool pads, guys, they are naturally gonna run a little bit cooler, which is why I like them. They are very aggressive, be aware of that. You just have to be prepared. There's gonna be a step after that to finish down, just like there was right here. But because the air can whisk in between these fibers, this pad runs really, really cool as well and will not spike temperatures on the surface. All right, I'll be right back. Let me de-lint this a little bit. Okay, did the best I can. It's still going to be like somebody freshly shaved a lamb around here, so I may start to sneeze, but let's do some work right in this area. Got some up right up the nose hole. And here we go. You always want to keep the rotary as flat as you can. Now, if you need to, and it starts to skip, quick tip, just take it up on its 5 or 10 degree angle, and you can lay it back down, and it will be smooth as butter once again. This thing does work quickly. There's a scratch that's all the way through. There's many scratches that are all the way through. Let's stop right there as the compound is starting to complete its cycle and dry out a little bit. All right, I could see a little bit of etching. So I'm going to say, when it comes to cutting the micro wool pad, let me show it to you. This one right here was more aggressive. That said, up here it would only take another pass or two and you'd be right at the same level. Well, let me do that quickly. And then we'll put this wool pad away because I have about 3 pounds of wool up the cake hole right now.
That should do it.
Yep, now they're both on the same playing level. Let me finish this down. Nose is still itchy. Yeah, I do like this light blue pad as a finishing or a light polishing pad. Very nice. Just barely warm to the touch. Oh yeah, that looks good. So we're going from that disaster to some improvement. Again, the deeper scratches, I'm going to have to figure out if I want to do a little wet sanding. I'll make that decision a little bit later. Which section do you think looks better? First one or the second one? All right, I also want to check out these big ass hockey puck looking things. This is one big sponge. So it's like the perfect area to work a nice strip from here to here. Let me grab the 3-inch polisher. So this pad would do much better on something like the LHR 75 pneumatic from Rupees because it has the larger backing plate, about 4 inches, or you can get yourself a 4-inch backing plate. This will still work. But there's always a chance you could tear up the pads because you're pushing the hook and loop portion of this up over the edge of the backing plate. Way too high, way too high. Back it down, back it down. Okay. That was quick and easy. That looks good. Did a good job. So the big hockey pucks, well, did just about as well as the wool pads, maybe even better. Maybe even a more crisper reflection. I don't know, let me know down in the comment section. Not bad. Let's continue on. And how about in this section right here? We use the microfiber. That's not micro wool, microfiber. Different fibers and material. This should be more aggressive than this, but hey, let's find out. I'm going to get it back on the XCE8. And we'll probably have to add a second step to this as well on the soft black paint here to finish down, as it might be a little bit hazy. Much cleaner than the wool pads. Just a little bit of fibers here and there, but those pads do a much cleaner job. How do we look? Well, I know we got a bit of a haze. I could see that already. So we're going from this mess to that. From this to that, and you can see the haze, so let me clean that up. I really like that pad as a finishing pad, light polishing. You'd have to definitely order 5.5 inch, as I ordered the wrong size. I have plenty of polishers with a backing plate that'll match up with that, but I just like 5.5 inch pads better. What about you guys? Let me know down in the comment section. And we're going from that to that. All right, now I want to try this khaki, real coarse foam polishing pad. Beveled edge. Again, made for the Udos, but the Udos is all polishers in one. And if you have all 5 polishers, then this will work on every one of them. Okay, let's get to it. Oh, let's put it on the, what is this? The XFE 715. All right, where are we at? Right here. Well, I have to plug in the polisher for it to work. It's science. I always like to let the polishers come to rest before I lift them up off the surface. So much easier on the gears, backing plate, and pads, the material. Make them last longer. Get more out of the money you spent. See what this looks like. So I gotta tell you, I'm impressed with this one because I get just as much cut without all that hazing. I like that pad. That is a good pad. Maybe doesn't cut quite as deep, but not bad. Let me get the swirl finder here. We're going to go from this mess to that. Yeah, that does very well. One more pad I would like to try out today before we end the video is the foam polishing pad. Not quite as aggressive and coarse as the last one we just had. Should do the trick on this hood though. Let's give it a shot. And then we also shouldn't need really anything to clear up, as I don't expect much of a haze either. I'm anxious to wipe off the residue here and see what kind of work this has done. And like I said, I don't expect there to be any hazing. So we're going from that mess to that. And let me get going from that to that. Yeah, that's another good pad. All of these guys have worked well, in my opinion. I'd like to know your opinion. So we have the hybrid micro wool. We have the wool. We have the hockey puck. And then over here, we have microfiber. We have a coarse foam and a little bit less aggressive, more of a polishing foam. Let me know which one you think did the best here on the hood. Now, I want you to keep in mind who might be buying this. Tax season is coming up, and a lot of these cars are going to be moving quickly. Is it going to be somebody that has the eye to even care about me going that distance? Are they going to be able to maintain it and wash it properly, not to put any deep scratches in it anymore? How are they going to remove snow? I'll catch you in the next video.